Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Encourage Mindset. I'm your host, Ethan Vandehive. A podcast that is really going to bring you motivational tips, strategies, but also we're going to tell you some amazing stories and bring some amazing guests on. And today I have Brad Jordan, and he's going to be talking about one of my favorite things I'm excited to talk about is mindset, but he's going to talk about something called breakthrough. So he created a playbook, and I will let him talk about it more, but also talk to you guys about who he is as a person and what got him to where he is today. So Brad, welcome to the show.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, Ethan. And again, thank you for having me. I love the idea of the positivity and just really all mindset, right? I think it's very important for us to focus on mindset. And that's really what my book talks about. And we'll go into that. A little bit about me. I like to say I come from humble beginnings, right? You know, had some challenges in life, some struggles, some setbacks, some situations, raised in the inner city, a lot of violence, a lot of drugs, a lot of issues around me, right? And so when you talk about mindset, I understand the value of it. I understand the importance of it because of my upbringing, right? The one thing that was always a focus, though, was education and continuous learning. The idea was if we can switch and shift our mind, we can then shift where we are physically, right? We can shift and have our breakthrough. Now, back then, I didn't call it a breakthrough, right? I wasn't sure what I called it, right? I was just trying to survive day to day. But what I realized is there were pivotal moments within my life that truly shifted my mindset. It shifted me to where I am today. And I'm incredibly thankful for those moments in my life. And if we have time, I can go into a few of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Please dive in. I would love to hear about those experiences.
Yeah, sure. So, one of them, as I said, education was extremely important to me. So, I actually went to a school that was nowhere near where I lived. Either I had to drive there or ride there with someone or take a bus, but it was to get out of the situation that I was in. And it was my senior year, and we had a new president of our school. And for one reason or another, I'm going to say it was ordained because I believe in that. There's not a coincidence, right? And so I believe it was ordained, but he called me into his office once. I had a situation on the football field. I haven't shared this until really recently, but I got into a physical altercation during a football game. And maybe that's why he brought me into his office, but he saw something in me and he started to mentor me and pour into me and really talk to me about other areas of life I never thought about. What you can be, how you can get there. Part of the book, and I'll talk about it later, I talk about exposure, I talk about proximity, I talk about wise counsel. Wise counsel is one of the 7 principles. And that's really what he was doing for me. He was giving me counsel when I didn't really know what I wanted to do. He saw something in me that I didn't see. He started introducing me to CEOs of organizations where I'm starting to learn how their mindset shifts. And not immediately, but my mind started to shift because I started to see something that I never saw before. I started to think in ways that I've never thought before. So that was one of the most important factors in my life, is that person bringing me alongside them and showing me something new. So I am extremely big on exposure or proximity to something different because I know what it did for me. And I'm an avid reader. We were talking before we went live that I went back and completed my MBA a few years ago after I'd been out of school for probably 15 years. But I did that because I'm constantly trying to learn, constantly trying to develop a mindset. So I think that's key. Proximity, exposure, continuous learning, right? So that was one of the keys. There's 3 of them I'm going to talk about, if that's
Awesome.
fine with you.
Yeah, no, we're here to learn from you. So go crazy.
Okay, all right. You can ask questions throughout because I'll talk for as long as you are streaming, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but one is important, is that wise counsel piece, and that's incredibly important to me. Another part to me is really self-awareness, and when we talk about your breakthrough, that is the very first chapter, is because I think it's very important to understand who you are, what you were made for. Growing up, I didn't fully understand what that meant until I started hearing other people talk about their strengths, their weaknesses, what gives them passion, what brings them life. And then over the last, I'm going to say 7 years, I've really been focusing. There's an Eastern term, ikigai.
Okay.
And ikigai basically is your meaning for your life, right? It's more than just what are you good at. It's what brings you energy. I like to think of it as what strengthens your soul, what strengthens that light that's inside of you, right? So what is your true passion, your gift and talent that was given to you? So that's part of your ikigai. What does the world need? And what is the world willing to pay you for? And I think
Mhm.
if you can focus on those areas and focus on yourself, you can focus on what you were put on this earth to do. Because I do believe we all have a mission field. I do believe we all, when we're in alignment, it's not even like you're working. You're just going about your day. Have you ever seen the movie? It's a Disney movie, Soul. I'm not
Oh,
sure if
I
you're familiar
love
with that.
Soul. I love
Love
Soul. It's a
it, right?
great movie.
Great movie. But there's a part of the movie when they're in like the other area and
Mhm.
people are just kind of floating, and it's like, oh, this is when they're in their zone. When you align with your purpose, when you understand who you are, that's what you will do. When I speak, I believe I was put here one of the things is to make a difference, but one of them is public speaking. Sometimes I kind of forget the hour that I'm on stage because it's almost an out of body experience, and I have to go back and watch videos to make sure I said what I wanted to say. And interesting enough, sometimes I say it in a different way, but it resonates how it's supposed to resonate. And so a piece for me really was there was a time in my life, and it was 20 years ago. And I've been married for 25 years now, but 20 years ago, we were at a really difficult part of our marriage. And I really didn't know what to do, what I wanted. I looked in the mirror and didn't really like what I saw. And that's what triggered me to go down this path of self-awareness and understanding my ikigai, understanding my purpose. But I want to tell you an interesting event during the worst time of our marriage. That was during it was Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane
Okay.
Rita. Okay, so down south. And during that time, I went to my pastor and I said, I think I need to go serve. I just think I need to go give to others, right? Am I crazy for this? This is the worst time of our marriage, and I'm not sure if we're going to make it through this. And he said, absolutely, if that's on your heart. So I went down there to serve, and I remember driving down, and we drove through Rita to get down to Alabama to help and Mississippi to help with
When you say
recovery.
we, did you and your wife go or just you?
So yeah, thank you for asking that. No, it was just
Yeah.
me. It
Okay.
was just me. It was me and a group of I think there was probably 15 men that went down.
Okay.
But my wife did not. That allowed her to focus here, and that
Yep.
allowed me to really focus on who I'm supposed to be. As we're driving down, we get there in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. to the church that we're going to stay at. Well, you don't want to go in and wake everybody up, so we decided just to stay in our vehicles. And I made this crazy decision. I don't believe in coincidence. I'm going to sleep on top of the RV. Now, don't think of a nice RV. Think
Yeah.
about like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. think of that type of RV, right?
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, it wasn't plush by any means. I think
Great
it was
movie though.
donated.
Great
Oh,
movie.
great movie, great, and I think it was donated to us. Just
Yeah.
like we broke down on the way down there. Like there's a whole story. But I go down there and I'm laying on top and I'm trying to get comfortable on the top of an RV, and I look up, and never before and never since have I seen a sky so clear and so bright with stars. I've never seen that many stars, and it scared me. It was almost like I was being like sucked into the stars and then almost scaled back. And in that moment, I said, "What are you doing? Like, why are you trying to ruin and sabotage your life? There's something bigger out there for you." And it was in that moment that I said things are going to change. And the week was amazing, serving others, clean up, um, giving somebody power, giving somebody the ability to go back into their house. That was all amazing. But just that one moment of seeing where I fit in this universe helped change me forever. And I went on the path of figuring out who I was. I started taking assessments. I started talking to my pastor. I started talking to my wife more. And again, I say we've been married for 25 years. This was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'd love to say we never had an argument again, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you here. But that day, that week, truly changed me for forever.
Yeah.
And so I believe in that self-awareness piece. So that one time was, the president of the school. really wrapping me up and helped me see something different, changing my mindset. The other time was down in Mississippi, when I got to see all of those stars and to kind of see where I fit in this universe, right? It helped me to understand where I wanted to go, what I wanted to be. And the last one, and these aren't in order, but I did that intentionally. You heard me say I spoke to my pastor. Well, I didn't grow up with any type of spiritual foundation.
Yeah.
And my wife did. She was raised in the church and strong faith, and I attended Catholic school, so I had an understanding, but it was never
Hmm.
something that I owned. And this is something that I do like to share because it was a game changer for me. But my wife and I went to a small liberal arts school, probably 3,000 people, 2,000 people.
Okay.
I saw her on move-in day, right? I was a football player and I was already in the dorm and we're just watching everybody else move in. And I saw her, and I'm going to be honest to you and your audience. I was like, oh, she's really attractive. I wonder who that
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Listen to me when I say I never saw her again until about a month or two before I graduated, because
Wow.
I believe we weren't supposed to see each other because it would not have worked,
Yeah.
because of how different we were. And about a month or two before graduation, we're driving down the road, my buddy and I, who ended up being my best man at my wedding.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and so we're driving, we hit this four-way stop, and I see her in her car. I haven't seen her in 4 years. I see her in the car, and I hear something, and it said, "You're going to marry her." And I looked over at my buddy, and I'm like, "What did you say?" He goes, "What are you talking about?" I go, "What did you just say?"
Yeah.
And he goes, his exact words were, "Man, are you drinking?" I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And I said, "You didn't say anything." He goes, "No, what do you think I said?" I said, "You just told me I'm going to marry her." He said, "I never told you that." And so for me, that was the start of my faith,
Yeah.
because never before and never since have I audibly heard what I'm going to call the word of God. He didn't say it. There's no reason he would have said it,
Yeah.
but it hit me. And so, I do have a faith foundation now and have for the last 26 years. I'm
It's
not perfect
awesome.
by any means, but I do think that helps me focus, have the right mindset when things happen, because the reality is life isn't perfect, right? And things are going to happen to us, and it's how we respond to it. And my faith gets me through it. So that was pretty long about saying like
No, I
who
love
I
that.
am.
I love that. No, I love that piece because I honestly identify with faith as well, and I really care about it. And it's awesome to hear other people care about it and know that, like, yeah, at the end of the day, we're all sinners. No one's perfect. The only person that was perfect on this earth was Jesus when he walked here and made his sacrifice. And it's awesome that you were able to have somebody, take you under their wing and mentor you, and all of those awesome stories you shared. And diving into, your book more, because, from what I gathered, there's so much more to unpack in that. And I obviously want you to share as much as you can with the audience today about it. And I will kind of let you have the floor again to speak about your book, because this is definitely something a lot of viewers should check out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Ethan, and I do want to I want to say something to you before I go into the book. I love your intro music, right? Like,
Yeah.
no, seriously, like the one line that just hit me. Every day you wake up to something new, and it resonated with me because it is about your mindset. Every day you start fresh. If you had a great day, have another great day. You're starting fresh. If you
Yeah.
had a bad day or a bad hour, you're starting fresh, and that's what I'm trying to get across in my book is your breakthrough, because we all have struggles at different times. How do we break through? How do we break through to become the person we're supposed to be? I think about like a caterpillar and a butterfly, right? Like, how do they break through? They're really trying to figure out who they are. So I have the book goes into 7 different principles and 7 topics. On top of the book, and I could go on for days about it. There's also workshops that I do, and there's a course that I have for each one. But it starts with self-awareness, and there are different ways you can figure out who you are. You heard me use the term ikigai. There are different tests out there you can take for that. Most of them are free. So if your
For
audience is
sure.
interested, you can go out and take a free test, and it kind of lays out what it believes you're good at and bad at. And you can dispute it, but overall, most of the assessments, the Ikigai test for sure, I align fairly closely with. But there's also like the DISC assessment,
Yeah,
strengths finders,
yeah,
all of it.
I've heard of those ones for sure, and,
Yeah.
obviously, I think they definitely tell you your core strengths and obviously your opportunities that you need to improve at, so,
Yep. And
um
that's where I start. I start there. So I didn't even talk about like what I do, but I've been in the talent acquisition space for a long time. And so I'm always trying to align people with their gifts,
Yep.
right? And then trying to bring out the best in people. And so that's what that self-awareness really goes into is your strengths, your weaknesses, but who you are at your core. One of the things that we have to be careful of though, we all have blind spots. We just do, right? And so it's important for us to have trusted advisors, spouse, significant others, parents, someone who can also say, hey, do you know this about yourself? And then we have to be willing to accept that feedback, right?
Mhm.
Because the first time you don't accept feedback is the last time you'll get that feedback. And so we have to remember that we all have blind spots and we work through it. It's very difficult it's called self-awareness, but it's very hard to do on your own.
Yeah.
you know?
What do you tell somebody, that's struggling to, maybe wanna improve on their blind spots? How do you get somebody that's so bogged down in the negative mindset that they choose to not work on those blind spots?
Right. It's a simple answer, but not an easy answer.
Yeah.
The simple answer is relationship. If I bumped into you, Ethan, and I was like, "Oh man, this is a negative guy," which obviously you're not. But if I bumped into you and I were to try to give you feedback, you're not going to receive it. There is no
Mhm.
relationship there. There is no trust. There is no proof of value. So for me, whether I'm coaching someone, whether I'm speaking with someone, I try to make it as personal as possible, as quickly as possible. So that way I can then have that honest feedback. And so
Yeah.
simple, not easy, because you can't just build a relationship quickly. But I do believe if you show people that you care, and I go into that later in the book about people wanting to be seen and heard. If you show them that you care, they're more willing to listen to you. And so that's normally what I do is try to show the value and show that I care about their success, not about my success, but about their success. And I try to give them stories of other people because I've had people who are ultra negative, right? They're the Debbie Downer or the
Yeah.
Eeyore, right? And I've had that. I'm not going to tell you, Ethan, that works every time. I wish I had 100% uh,
Yeah.
100% answer. But what I will tell you is it starts with that solid relationship. It has to start there. Then we can move beyond the negativity. And quite honestly, we have to get to the core of why they're negative. There's
Mhm.
usually a trigger point. There's something that has happened to them. There's something that they feel not worthy of. Maybe there's a hole because they don't have any type of faith, whether there's a spiritual faith, a faith in life, whatever they have they have a hole, and we have to figure out what that hole is to get beyond
Yeah.
it.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, so I mean, that was a great explanation and a great answer for me. And when you keep talking about your book, obviously you dive into what you talked about, self-awareness, you talk about, understanding yourself, and it seems like that comes to for you spirituality, for me spirituality, being a faith-based person. What do you do when there's, requiring mindset, when most people think mindset, motivation, perseverance, you kind of form it with like developing habits and creating systems for yourself.
Oh,
How does your book talk about that?
yeah. So systems are extremely important, right? If you were to talk to people I work with, I'm not generally a process person. I'm more of this. Let's talk all day. But I
Yeah.
do understand the importance of processes and systems. So it's extremely important. So whether you're somebody with faith, without faith, right? This is going to work for you.
Yeah.
Um, the first thing is how do you start your day? What is your habit? What is your system to start your day? So I'm going to give you the seven points in the book, and then I'm going to tell you an example of how people can start their day. So it's
Yeah.
self-awareness, personal responsibility, empathy, wise counsel, decisive action, perseverance, and positive attitude. So let me just talk about systems that I put in place. One is I created a vision board, right?
Hmm.
I create a vision board, and it's everything that I seek and want and desire, right? That's out there. It's in my closet. Every morning I see it. Every night I see it. I'm very intentional about looking at it and believing in it. I pray on it, I meditate on it, I write it down. Because we have to understand our why. Why are we doing this? That's how we can stay positive, how we can persevere, how we'll make our decisions, how we'll have responsibility. So the vision board is key for me. There are 2 journaling exercises that I recommend for people. One is it's gratitude journaling, but it's journaling ahead. So in the morning when you get up, before you pick up your phone, right? These things right here.
Yeah,
You just
they're
want to,
addicting, right?
oh my goodness, right? Whether TikTok goes away or not, like they're addicting. So what do? The alarm goes off, we touch our phone, and then we're already on it, right? So just stop your alarm from going off. Take some time in silence, right? And then get up and start journaling of what you're thankful for the day. So it's being thankful and showing gratitude ahead. Thank you that I have this job. Thank you that I woke up this morning. Thank you for my family. Thank you that my car got me to work. Thank you for the food. It sounds kind of, I'll use the term corny, but it works because it puts you in the right mindset of being thankful. So when something happens, you're more apt to be able to just overcome that as this is a little blip, right? Because you've already been thankful. So start it with thankfulness. Then I go and see my vision board, right? So I've got that all in my mind. And at night, then you go back on what happened. So now you're thankful for what you can actually quantify. Thank you that this meeting went well. Thank you that my kids are safe. Thank you, whatever that may be. So the pre-journaling and post-journaling are the 2 journaling that I always advise. So that's a system that you put in place. If you want to take it to the next level, and you might look crazy while you do it, but show thankfulness throughout the day. There are times that I could be walking to the coffee shop and I'm going to mouth, thank you. Thank you for this weather. Thank you. Because I'm just keeping that constant mindset of gratitude. If we can keep that mindset of gratitude, when something happens, it's a blip. Here's another system I put in place. I didn't do it today, all right? Because I don't normally do it for when I'm on a podcast, but I do it before every single speech.
Okay.
A system I put in place is to know your happy place. This is something I tell everybody. If I'm talking about positive attitude, find your happy place. My happy place is Christmas.
Okay, there you go.
I'm a Christmas junkie. Specifically, there's a place we go in Michigan. It's called Frankenmuth, but it's a Christmas village, right? Christmas area.
Yep.
I think about that. So I know that my favorite time of year is Christmas for so many reasons. So before I go on stage, I'll have an AirPod in. And I know people are always guessing, what's he listening to, right? Because I've had people say, what are you listening to? I don't tell them because it's part of my speech. But it's Christmas music. I don't care what time of year it is. Why is that important to me? It set myself up so that if I get on stage and my mic fails, I'm already in my zone.
Yeah.
If I get on stage and the audience isn't engaged, I'm already in my zone. So all of us, I'm talking about me, but it applies to your whole audience. Set yourself up for success. What is your happy place? If it's a certain type of music, listen to it every morning. If I have to go into a big meeting, and this sounds ridiculous, I know, because I'm almost 50 years old, I will throw some Christmas music on before I go into a meeting that might go sideways, because I want to make sure I'm at my best all the time. And so that's another system that I put in place. So hopefully that gives your audience a few systems they can put in place.
Yeah, no doubt. What is the Christmas song? Can we ask? What's the Christmas go-to song?
So it's either going to be Mariah Carey or
all I Want for Christmas. There you go.
Right, which now is even on Fortnite. She's transcended, right? Or Michael Bublé. Any of them. Any of Bublé's song. But
yeah.
Generally it's Mariah Carey first. And then I just have on Spotify, I just got a playlist and I go at it. But the reason I do it is I know what it does to my mindset. And so I would just encourage people to know what gets you in the right mood. And I don't care what it is, right? Whatever it is, whether it's music, whether it's reading, maybe it's exercising, right? Some people are going to go So do that before anything big. Do that every morning. Do that when you know you have a big project. Do that when a challenge hasn't happened. Because what will happen is you'll be triggered before you ever realize it. And you don't have time to set your mind. So we are setting our mind before that trigger ever hits, so it doesn't impact us the same way.
For sure. No, I love all those answers. And I guess I got to think of my happy place. And on the spot, I can tell you it is me having a brewery beer that is just to die for.
So what is it? What kind is to die for?
You
What's your
know,
favorite?
I need line and Googles to bring it back, but it's the sunset wheat. My fiance and I, we always talk about this date. I planned it so like unexpectedly. So I live in Milwaukee, and we just went to this bar and grill, and I saw they did beers on tap in a boot, and I go, that's really cool. Like, let's go there. Let's just go have some fun dinner. So we got these beers in a boot. We saw on the menu they have sunset wheat, which is impossible to find anywhere now because I
Right.
think it went in hibernation. But at the time it was available, we both got it. And now we always look back at that date and we're like, that date wasn't the fanciest. It wasn't
Yep.
the most expensive. It wasn't the, you dress up, all this other stuff that dates might be. It was just some bar food, but we always look back at it because it was the best beer with the coolest environment. So
That is awesome. So that's what I would encourage you, right?
yeah,
Even though you can't get that beer, that memory has ingrained in you, right? It's been ingrained. My grandfather was a huge mentor to me. He's passed away 22 years ago, but he was a cook, right? I shouldn't say he was a cook. He loved to cook. He was a
yeah,
great cook. He taught me how to cook. My grandmother taught me how to cook, and I cook at a lot of our family functions.
that's awesome.
And here's the thing why I say this. I cook, and sometimes I don't even eat it. I cook because I want people to have an experience. He always taught me, he said, you don't cook just for good food, you cook for the experience. So what I heard you say just now is you had that line in Kugels, right?
Yeah.
But it was everything else. It was that whole experience with your fiance. It stuck with you. So that's what I mean by the happy place. I didn't tell you this, but I love to bake and cook. I just told you, but I will put on Christmas music and I will bake and cook because it keeps me in the right mindset. So I'd encourage you to remember that date as often as possible, and it'll
Yeah.
keep your. It's all about that mindset.
Absolutely. I've loved everything you've shared today. Love that you've been talking about your book breakthrough. I love all the strategies and implementations you gave to listeners to really implement, like starting today if they're listening to it. Brad, is there anything else you want to share, whether it's a powerful message you've heard or something that you've just been ingraining in your daily routine that you want the listeners on Encourage Mindset to really just vocalize and express?
Yeah, there's two more things I want to share, Ethan. And the processes I gave you, if I said nothing else, that's what I wanted, those systems. I wanted to at least share that. There's so much more because what works, I want to make sure it works for everyone. But there's two things that I wanted to want to say. I met this artist once. His name is Torn Wells. He's a musician. And he had a song called Known. And I believe, so I talk about that when I talk about empathy. I have a belief that everybody wants to be known and loved. And what does that look like? His song said known and loved. It's probably trademark. So I say to be seen and heard. So when we're talking about how do we move forward as a society, how do we have our breakthrough? It's about having empathy. Because I don't know what you've gone through, Ethan. I don't know. But I bet you've gone through some things, some struggles, some challenges, and they've impacted why you say and do the things you do. Just like me, just like everyone else that I've never met or have met, we need to lead with empathy. And we do that by humility. We do that by removing self. And if we're going to talk from a spiritual side, we're all children of God. So let's look at it that way. Let's look at it that
Mhm.
way instead of trying to be right. So I want, that's one of the things. And oh my goodness, I can't remember the second thing. Don't let go. It was just the empathy part. So I talked about being known and loved, but I think it's so important, especially in today's society. And I'm not going to blame these, but everybody has a voice, and we don't humanize things. I can say something really rude on here, and not realize how I'm impacting a person. And so I would just share that: lead with empathy, lead with that. People want to be seen, people want to be heard. Let's lead with that. Let's not wait till something negatively impacts us before we make a change and decide to love others. So that's what I would lead with. And the book is your breakthrough. That was what I was gonna say. I was gonna making some shirts. I just don't have them yet. In the shirt, it's gonna say the valleys are fertile. So what I would encourage your audience is when they're in a valley, when they're hurting, when they're having the worst time in their marriage, look for that silver lining. Look for that growth. Look for the opportunity to serve others and help others, and you will come out of that valley as a better person, a person that has grown beyond what you thought you could be.